The Lee County Board of Commissioners will come to order, and I'd like to call on Mr. Kelly to handle the invocation. Sorry. Mr. Hoyle.
Almighty God, our gracious Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless the work of the Board of Commissioners, so direct its purposes and guide its deliberations. We beseech you that its thoughts, words, and motions and actions in this meeting may be acceptable to you. And we note, our Father, the absence of Commissioner Shook, ask that you accompany her in her travels, keep her safe and sound, and return her to our midst. We note with sorrow, if you honor please, the passing of Mrs. Margaret Pollard, a former commissioner in Chatham County. And we remember for her devotion to her county and the cause of county government. We ask our Father you would be with those members of our armed services who are serving in positions of peril. Allow them to commit their duties with honor and dignity and keep them safe and return them to our midst. Our Heavenly Father, we ask that we note with pride the sacrifice of those who were killed on 9/11 by alien forces and occurred in this month. And we note take time to honor their memory and the sacrifice they have made, and be with their families and comfort them in their loss. All of this we ask in the name of your Son. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's time for the presentation of Employee of the Month, and I'd like to call on Debbie Oldham to make that presentation.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, as a member of the Workplace Enhancement Committee, it is my pleasure to announce the Employee of the Month for September 2009. And at this time, I would like to ask Delisa Williams to please come forward. Delisa Williams with the Lee County Library has been selected as Employee of the Month for September 2009. Delisa has been employed with Lee County since 1996 and currently serves as Library Assistant 2. Delisa serves as an assistant to the children's area. She helps with story time in the library, at child development centers, and at daycares. She often gets stopped outside of work by children who recognize her from many of the library programs. Always willing to help, she offers her assistance whenever and wherever there's a need. She always maintains a positive relationship with her coworkers. She uses her calm, cool, pleasant attitude with patrons of the library, which allows any issues that may come up to be solved professionally. Delisa is a very talented lady. Her creative skills have kept attendance high in the early childhood programs. She has proved to be a valuable asset to the library and to the county as well. In her nomination, it states that she makes a tremendous contribution toward the harmony of the library staff. Delisa and her husband James have 3 children and 2 grandchildren. She enjoys watching movies, shopping, and spending time with her family and friends. Based on her dedication, service, and commitment to Lee County, the committee respectfully asks that you join us in awarding Delisa Employee of the Month for September 2009.
Mrs. Williams, if you would come forward, please. You bring great honor to this commission as you do to yourself, and we appreciate your good work on our behalf. We're very proud of you. Those actions of yours deserve a reward, and we have something for you today to show our gratitude. A day off with pay, and that's been duly signed. One free movie rental. 2 free 2-liter drinks from Papa John. 1 large 2-topping pizza. All of these, hopefully, you'll enjoy together on that day off. Now, of course, we have a plaque that we would like to present to you, which reads Employee of the Month, September 2009. Lee County Government recognizes Delisa Williams for going above and beyond regular duties to be an outstanding employee. And let me give you this, and finally this star award that we present to our monthly winners, and we give this to you and hope that you'll treasure it from the Lee County Board of Commissioners. And let me extend to you again our thank you for your good work. Concerning the addition to the agenda and the approval of the consent agenda, I have a couple of items that I wanted to bring to your attention, fellow board members. One is we will add, and you have been given, I believe, at your place, a piece of work from Sandhills Mental Health, and this will be considered new business and something that we will add as item F under new business. And the reason it's F is there's one other item that I wanted to ask that we pull, that would be item E under new business, and that would be the item under the consent agenda, which is E, debt capacity, quarter-cent sales tax report given by the county manager. So we have an E and an F under new business to look at both of those pieces of business. And if you would make that adjustment, I would appreciate it very much and trust that it would meet with your approval. I would also mention one other thing that I have in my hand, the service contract, which relates under the consent agenda to item K, and for Homeland Security exercise for Lee County Emergency Services. You do not have a copy of it. It is just additive, and if you wish a copy, it would be certainly made available to you. But this was sort of a late arrival, and it was not included in our package, but I have that if you wish to examine it or to have your own copy. Would there be any other suggestions for change with our agenda at this time? If not, I'd like to recommend that the addition to the agenda and approval of the consent agenda as amended be approved. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? There's no opposition, so those changes will be made. Thank you very much. It's time now for public comments, and we have one speaker, Mr. Keith Clark. Mr. Clark, welcome.
Till about an hour ago, I went 11 days without even turning on a computer. Quite a vacation. I did see.
Congratulations.
Now I have to get rid of all that stuff. The first thing I want to remind you of is there was quite a lot of interest and nodding and reassuring and patting on the back about getting the libraries back to their full hours of operation. And amongst these girls who came over and spoke, we have a couple of those who have great dramatic interest. So you may be entertained the request to make a 10-minute presentation if we can't do something about those libraries. The second thing I want to do is to commend the chairman on bringing up, I don't know what he has in mind, but the need to look at the Economic Development Commission is tremendous. They have no prospects. We have technical issues, like as when they meet with you on a private, under closed session, the clerk to the board doesn't know when to release the minutes, because she can't release the minutes until the firm talked about has announced its decision to go somewhere. And there's no system for feedback, so the public has no way of knowing how many times we have pursued, how many times we have won, which is not often. We know how many times we've won, which is not very many. And it operates under a total cloak of secrecy. I have found the answer, I think, to her problem, to helping you release your minutes. But that's where it is. Nobody can evaluate this organization, and I'm adding to my blog a clock of how many minutes and seconds it takes them to get back to me. I've been trying for 3 months to get them to return a phone call, and they won't do it. They don't want to be looked at. I think it's excellent that you brought this subject to the table.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Moving right along into new business, I'd like to have Mr. Crumpton speak to us. I'm sorry. Oh, I think we did. Did we not? Okay. I thought we had consolidated, but I'm told that we need to officially approve the consent agenda as it was amended, and so let me ask for that separately. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The consent agenda is approved. Okay. Under new business, the approval to hire a full-time administrative support assistant 2 for soil and water conservation office. Mr. Crumpton?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I've been working with the Soil and Water Conservation Board on getting the administrative support assistant back into their department. As you recall, when Nancy Thomas retired, we eliminated that position. The Soil and Water Conservation Board went out to the state and asked them to fund cost share money to them. They were able to obtain $25,500 to go towards the position. To fully fund the position, we would need an additional $11,728.40 to come from the fund balance. Based on their requirements and the things that the technical assistance that they need, in meeting with them, I'm making the recommendation that we approve that position.
Okay, do I hear that in the form of a motion?
I move to approve the position of administrative support assistant 2 and take the $11,728.40 to fund that position from the general fund.
The motion has been made. Is there discussion? If there is no discussion, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is approved unanimously. Thank you. The next item is a contract amendment for Sandley Dam project. Mr. Crumpton?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is a project that just won't go away. We'll keep working on it. As we were working forward and trying to get these plans to bid, we ran across an issue with the FEMA flood maps. And since we are increasing water storage in the base flood elevations, or we're not changing the base flood elevations, we had to go and look at the local flood plain map and make a determination of how we were impacting it. At that point, the engineers realized that the maps were not correct and that we needed to make a change to those maps. So it fell to the county to make that change. So that makes up a good part of the change order. The other change order was, other part of the change order was from McKinnon Creek, had to do with the amount of work Land Quality has requested from them on a modification of the plan. So the letter that they received was quite lengthy, and we're recommending that we go ahead and approve the extra money. And this will be the last bit of work that we need to do to get this plan out to bid.
Thank you very much. Do I hear a motion? Motion is made to approve the contract addendum request for $9,800. Is there discussion? Questions? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The addendum is approved unanimously. Thank you. The next item is a discussion of a joint meeting with the Economic Development Board, and I wanted to take just a moment to bring you up to date on that. It goes without saying that Lee County is very challenged at this time with the economic downturn, and we have great need to do everything we can possible to try to step up the pace and to look at the economic development organization, which serves both the county, the city, and the town of Broadway. Has been operative for the last 10 years plus, and has been sort of the primary force approved and funded by these three boards to seek out economic development opportunities for Lee County, which obviously would have great and have had great benefit for our county, landing new businesses and industries and building our tax base. And making that happen is no easy job. But members of the county commission have from time to time raised questions about the effectiveness of the Economic Development Corporation. And at the very least have wanted to, I think, have a better understanding of what it is they do, what their goals and objectives are, and where they're headed, and so that we can better appreciate and support them in the future, or if we decided otherwise, to change our tactic. But the bottom line is, I think I would presume to speak for every member of this commission, that we need to be aggressive and that we need to do everything we can to build the industry in this county, build it back, and do whatever we have to do to be alert to the opportunities that are out there, or otherwise we are going to be, the competition will eat us alive. So, having said that, we have had several meetings with the mayor, the mayor of Broadway, the mayor of Sanford, myself, the managers of these entities, and we've talked with the chairman, Mr. Hunter, and with Mr. Hughes, the executive director of the EDC, and with their board. And we've said that we would like to have an engagement. We would like to have a discussion about just these things that I've talked about. They are agreeable, very happy to receive that invitation and the challenge to meet with us in November. We have tried to find a date that at this point would meet everyone's satisfaction. We'll not get everyone, but if we can get quorums from each board and the key players, and particularly the EDC people, we will have this meeting. I believe it's on the 5th, November the 5th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the McSwain Center. And the public will be invited. Now, this will be, as we envision it at this time, a working meeting of the boards. But we want the public to feel free to come and to listen to the dialogue because we want total and complete transparency at all times. And we think this is going to be a very good beginning. It will take the format something like this, that the EDC will make a presentation to these assembled 3 boards and give us a PowerPoint presentation and discussion about past, present, and future as they see it and what they're doing. And then we, the boards, will be asked to ask any questions of the EDC that we wish to ask. And then I think that it's their feeling that this will give them the sense of concern, if there's concern, and opportunity where that exists. It'll give them a charge to put together a strategic plan that will serve them and serve Lee County, Sanford, and the town of Broadway in the future. So we have great hopes for this. I do, and I hope that the members of this commission will join in being pleased that we are moving forward. And it's not just to make another meeting, it's very much necessary at this time because of conditions. We just need to do everything we can to put our best foot forward and to make sure that our investment in economic development is one that is serving the citizens of Lee County as effectively as we know how to make it. That's the end of that, but that's what you have. I believe you've received a copy of my letter on our behalf to the mayor and to the mayor of the town of Broadway, and we've asked them to sort of organize their boards to join with us on that date, and we will move forward to that date unless something happens that just makes it rather impossible. But it's fresh, and right now we're sort of waiting to get feedback. But we're going to have a meeting, and we're going to, it's going to be good. It's going to be a good conversation.
Can you
Sir.
elaborate somewhat on the fact that you just indicated you've had some meetings?
Mhm.
Well, I haven't seen anything, not to say that you haven't produced anything,
No.
but I haven't seen anything about the
Right.
meeting you've had.
Right.
And for what purposes?
Well, the purpose of the meetings, and they've been meetings first to talk with the heads of these other governments to say, how do you feel about this? Is this a good idea? And this also includes the EDC executive people, in order to see if we could have such an engagement, if they were interested in being partners in it. And so that happens to be the case. I know the mayor is very excited about this possibility, as is the mayor of Broadway. So it's sort of a meeting of the minds that it's time to do this, and since they serve all of us, and so, a little reconnaissance was necessary. This is not necessarily a may I kind of thing, but it's an initiative on behalf of the county and behalf of this board in goodwill that I took to see if I could get something kind of on its feet and scheduled. And I might add that the spirit of this is very much to some of the questions that you and others have raised in the past about the operations of the Economic Development Corporation. And so, it's time that we had that conversation. And so,
Well, for your benefit, I know the answer to my questions that I raised. I wanted to hear it from others.
well,
Why? I guess I'm trying to understand, one, why you feel it's necessary to approach it from this method. We fund a portion of that board. They're a recommending body. They're not like the airport, so they're not autonomous. And so I would expect that the meeting goes without saying if elected boards want to meet with them. Or we find reasonable folks who will do that kind of thing. So I don't understand that part of it. The second part of it that I don't understand is if this is going to be a working meeting, what will the presentation about past, current, and future, what is that about?
All right, well, let me see if I can explain that.
Well, before you do, tell me this. Do you have the history of what they've done over the past 10 years in front of you? The Economic Development Board, not this one appointed body we're talking about now. In general, the last 10 years, do you have that?
No, I do not have that in front of me.
Okay, I mean, do you have it, or have we pulled that together, or for the past 5 years?
Well, they are working on that now to pull it together because what we have asked them to do is, for instance, in our meeting, the questions have arisen about do we really understand what they, well, others do not. I mean, and not necessarily on this board, but on some others, the question came, the statement was made, we really do not entirely. And so, you know, this was rather interesting. There were discussions about such things as the terms of the members of the board, the bylaws that govern these arrangements that we have, the interlocal agreements, the nature of the board and how it's composed, and can changes for the better be made there or not. There were very good, thoughtful questions by the people in these meetings, which I think certainly confirmed to me that there are a lot of people who know precious little about how the Economic Development Corporation really works and what its charge is and how it sees itself. And so, you know, it seems to me like that there is good reason here to have a conversation, especially at this time in our economic history, to look and make sure, as you have requested yourself, Mr. Reeves, or suggested, I think, that are we getting a good value for our investment? And I think there are mixed answers on that. Some would say entirely, very, very good. Others would say perhaps not what it should be. And so,
And others have to say, I don't know, because they admit they don't know anything about it.
they don't know anything about it. That's absolutely so. And this is a way to get at that. It's long past due, in my opinion, but better late than never. So I would imagine that there will be a lot of people that are interested, not only on these boards, but I'm hoping that a lot of people in the community will come out and listen to this dialogue, because this is just the beginning. We'll have this meeting, and then after that, the EDC will go back and, among its own members, talk about what they had heard and what they felt they should be doing in the future to succeed. Not just to please us, but to really hit targets of opportunity and to make things happen in this county, since we are particularly on hard times right now. So that's about as much as I know to say. It is a piece of work in the makings, and I wanted to inform you.
Well, and I appreciate that, but why would it be between 6 and 8 if you're gonna have a working meeting? Why don't we work from 4 to 5 or 4 to 6, and then allow the public to ask their questions and get on out of there? If you wait 6 to 8 to have a working meeting, and then after 8 o'clock, if people are there, they'll start to ask their questions. If we're going to do it for the benefit of the public, then why don't we work early?
Well,
Is the public going to ask questions?
no, the public's not going to be involved in the question asking. But the idea was that people will, if they want to come to this, will have already eaten. This is not a dinner or not a reception, but there will be some refreshments there. You know, there's no right time. We wanted to wait until people, the public particularly, had come home from work and could then join us, and they could have eaten and be ready to sit with us from 6 to 8 and to observe this meeting and be a part of it, so to speak. So, you know, I suppose you could argue 4 to 6, 5 to 7. Among us, we just decided, I think it was sort of a consensus at 6 to 8. with the public being notified and the boards that this was not a meal, but we'd start at 6, and please take your nourishment beforehand. There'll be soft drinks there for you, and we'll move on. So it's an imperfect world in which we work. That is no question about. But I do appreciate your questions, Mr. Reeves, and I think this really, I would hope you would feel overall pretty good about what we're attempting to do here. Are there any other questions? Okay, then we'll move right along. The next item is the appointment to Mid-Carolina Workforce Development, pages 137 to 143. And Mr. Crumpton, do you want to, oh, I'm sorry, Gaynell. Hi.
Mr. Chairman,
I was looking
Commissioners,
down when you were moving. Okay.
you'll see on page 137 where I'm asking you to make an appointment to the Mid-Carolina Workforce Development Board. Dr. Bud Marchant was on this board, but since the community college now administers funds for the program, he can no longer serve as a voting delegate. So we need to find someone to complete his term, which will expire in June of 2013. And I'm submitting for consideration one application that you will see on page 138. Of course, the board is welcome to submit other nominations, but it's been very hard in the past to find someone to serve on this board.
Move to accept the nominee.
The motion's been made to accept the nominee. Is there any question or any discussion about the motion that's been made? If not, we'll vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Approved unanimously. Thank you very much. The next item is was taken from the consent agenda, and it's the item E, debt capacity, quarter-cent sales tax. I wanted to bring that out and ask Mr. Crumpton to sort of update us on that. I thought that the piece of work that had been provided earlier that was cited was, first rate, and helped this board to better understand the sea upon which we sail with this quarter-cent sales tax and the cost to the county, all of the economic ramifications of that. And so, it's been a few weeks, and I asked Mr. Crumpton if he would sort of give us sort of an updating so that we are right on point with that information.
Right, Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at page 23 just to go through the calendar that was back there. After August 17th, we were scheduled to meet with the local government commission. Ms. Minter, Dr. Moss, and Dr. Atkinson and myself went up to Raleigh and met with the local government commission and discussed the high school proposal, discussed what we were looking at with the financing, and they were very helpful. They were very supportive, and at that time, they are still looking for financial institutions, and they're still looking today to partake in the zero interest bonds. So that's one thing that isn't updated is, there's still, really just the group out of Chicago that's taking part, and the LGC is, no one in North Carolina has borrowed any money through that yet. So we're still working through that piece of the puzzle. The Board of Education has put Height and Associates to work. We had tentatively said that we would try to get Mr. Height here tonight to discuss an update of the plan and the renovation and reconstruction. The Board of Education has sent us a letter and asked us to move that to a special meeting on October 12th at the high school. And I believe I forgot to write down the time. I believe that was a 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. It's a 6 o'clock meeting. So they would have Mr. Height there with his design schematics and where he is, so that we can ask him questions. And also, if anybody wants to tour the facility, he can show them around the facility and what he's trying to do. Bond counsel and a financial advisor, we've been talking with Davenport and Womble Carlisle right now. Womble Carlisle's been our bond counsel in the past, and of course Davenport's been our financial advisor. So until we get ready to really move into the borrowing, and we don't need to hire anybody yet. So they've been kind enough to talk to us and not really hit us with any fees. So that's nice of them to do that. The last item there was December 1st. That was hopefully our date to begin issuing debt and get approval from the LGC. And I right now, with the slowness of the banks coming around to partake in this borrowing, I doubt we'll be issuing debt around that time. It will probably be at least 30 to 60 days after that. Just to give you an update, if you remember last month, we gave the Board of Education the opportunity to apply for $17 million in extra qualified school construction bonds, and we were approved for an additional 2.5. So that gives us $8.2 million in zero interest bonding authority, $4 million is in the QZAB, and then 4.2 in the qualified school construction bonds. One of the developments that has occurred is there's some discussion about pushing the need to borrow the money for the QSCABs until after December 31st. Obviously, with the banking issue, there are folks that are saying that it's going to be difficult to issue them before then, so that hopefully that deadline is going to be extended, and I think there's a good chance of that. And also, there's been a change. Some folks must have complained about the 12-year payback, because they've extended that back to 15 years. So that extra 3 years helps a great deal, and obviously will help us in the cash flow position there. So that's kind of the update of where we are, and I think right now we're waiting on the rules to be issued by the IRS on the tax exempt status of the zero interest bonds, and hopefully after that there'll be more players in the market for the zero interest bonds, and we'll be able to issue them.
Okay, in connection with that, now I'd like to open it up for comments, questions. Let me just mention, in your packet, you have a copy of the letter from Mr. Tatum, Chairman of the Lee County Board of Education, to the Board of Commissioners, and inviting us to be a part of this meeting, which will take place, and again, I mention it for public consumption, October the 12th at 6 p.m. at Lee County High School in the old gymnasium. And I believe that before that, there will be an open house so that the public can come and walk the campus from perhaps like 4 to 6 and look around. And after our meeting, I believe there will be people in the different rooms to receive any additional guests that might wish to look around. Every effort being made to have it open, have it the public familiar with it, and certainly invited to this meeting here to be a part of this presentation. Are there any questions of Mr. Crumpton at this time about the report he's just made?
I've got one. Obviously, the 20th, that's an error? I know you're saying this is now the October 12th planned meeting?
Yes, sir. That should have been the 21st, and
Right.
that was my typo there.
I'm sorry, but now that's the October 12th meeting.
Now that's October 12th, yes, sir.
And at what point in this schedule do we have to commit the funds to participate?
Well, right now, if the rules, if the rules don't change, we would have to issue the qualified school construction bonds of $4.2 million by December 31st. The QZAB can be issued anytime in the next calendar year, 2010. So that's when, from a bonding standpoint, you'd have to commit to the bonds.
I thought there was some money that we had to put up front for the height plan and some other things that we talked about.
And we have put money up front for the architectural and design.
And that now, how much is that?
We approved $400,000 last month, and that would not be enough to do the entire design with the new building.
You got that figure?
I don't have that. I'm looking at the finance officer.
Me too.
I'm trying to figure out, I saw it on something, I'm trying to figure out what it was on so I could find it.
Yeah. We'll have to get that number back to you, but we do have that.
What's the timeline on that money? It seemed like we had talked about, or heard at one point around 900, another 500, so.
I know where it's at if you
Okay.
don't mind me going looking for it.
I think that number is close. He was trying to get, Mr. Height was trying to get all the design and everything finished sometime in February to bid it, hopefully be able to bid it in March or so, and try to take advantage of the lower construction costs that are out there right now.
You were saying something, Mr. Crumpton, about some of your observations about projects coming in at continuing to. Would you want to mention that? I mean, it's encouraging in the sense that they're...
We're hearing, 25 to 30% right now on building construction. They're coming in under architectural estimates, and the Monroe Airport they had a $17 million project that came in at $9 million. So, the general contractors are hungry out there, and
At the airport?
that's at the Monroe County Airport. That was extending the airport. And that's a lot of money to leave on the table. I mean,
That include a runway?
yeah, that was the runway expansion. So that was a big deal, and it's got everybody talking. And we've already had people have seen this. We've already had general contractors from South Carolina and Charlotte call us and want to know when this project's going to get out to bid. So obviously, it's something that right now the timing is good for bidding.
Right. Did you have some way to gauge the activity in building schools through Mr. Moss that when they went back to see how much more of the 0% is? There's a lot of activity going on. I mean, it's in pockets, right? It's sort of
Right. The larger, or I'd say medium-sized school districts, not quite the largest like Wake and Mecklenburg, but Cabarrus County, Union County were the big players in trying to get the additional money authorized. They had new schools on the drawing board and saw that as an opportunity. So that's why we were only able to get the $2.5 million when it looked a little bit more promising. There was $83 million in authorization, and they received over $200 million in additional requests. So, they had to go back, and I think they went back on an ADM allocation, and that's how they came up with the additional $2.5 million.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on that? We can come back when Mrs. Mentor returns, but we can go ahead and look at the next item. It's F. We added this to the agenda. It's titled Sand Hills Center. And, okay. Got it, Ms. Mentor?
What I have is some information they had sent over to have on hand when they were talking about the sales tax. And what they were showing is the $400,000 that we recently allocated for the design of the mechanical system and renovation of current buildings. The actual total cannot be determined yet because it would be 7% of the construction bid, so they will not know the actual fee until the bids are in hand. Then they're also showing a negotiated fee of $600,000 for the new classroom building as being a future expense. Now, we have not allocated any money for that. All we did was $400,000 at the last meeting to get things started.
Okay, comments, questions about that? Thank you very much for bringing that information to us.
At this point, that's the only commitment we have to get the ball rolling.
Yes, sir. And they're starting with the renovation piece first on that design.
Any other thoughts, comments, anyone? Okay, moving right along to item F, Sand Hills Center. Mr. Crumpton, would you wish
Yes,
to
sir.
speak to us about this?
Before Ms. Shook took off for California, she discussed this letter with me, and the letter is from Mr. Ussery, who's on the Richmond County Board of Commissioners and serves as chairman of the Sand Hill Center Board of Directors. And in our bylaws, whenever there's a opening for the chief executive officer, the counties have in the bylaws the ability to approve the appointment of the board of the chief executive officer, or they may waive that authority to that board. So Ms. Shook discussed this with me. She asked that we present this tonight and asked that the Lee County Board of Commissioners allow the search committee and the board of directors for the Sand Hill Centers to appoint the next chief executive officer.
And therefore, it's asking us to waive.
Waive our approval and allow them to do it without our approval.
I'd like to put that in the form of a motion. Is there discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No opposition. That is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Mrs. Minter, would you join us again?
Good evening. You have before you the August 2009 financial report. A couple things of notice. If you look at the tax collections through August of this year compared to last year, you will see we are about 1.65% ahead of where we were last year at this time. Of course, you know, that's still just to be determined if we're just collecting payments faster or if we're actually having more revenue, still to be determined. As far as expenditures go, our target was 16.67%. We do have several departments that are running ahead of that at this point. Several of those are due to dues being paid. Maintenance contracts that are due at the front end of the year. We had several of our retirees occurred at the end of the month of July. So we had several of the payouts of vacation and stuff occurring in August. And for some of our smaller departments, when you have a large payment like that at the front end, it's going to skew their budget for the year. General services is over due to payment of property and liability insurance earlier in this year, and along with some completion of capital improvements. You'll see various things similar to that in the other departments also. And then we have one department, I believe, planning is showing at 25% because it is a quarterly appropriation. You also have the sales tax numbers through the June 30th year end now in there, and you will see that our number was up for the month of June. We, for the last quarter, received our third largest amount for the year. It is back up. We ran 3 months in the $700,000 range, and it's been a while since we've been in that range. We did finish the year under our projections. We roughly finished around 96% of our projection and only around 86% of what we had originally budgeted for last year, which we obviously had moved our projections down accordingly. For the year, our Article 39 was down about 13%. Some of that is attributed to the hold harmless that we have to do for the city. And then Articles 40 and 42 were down roughly 10%. Article 44 shows 45% drop, but that was to be expected because of the change in the sales tax due to Medicaid relief. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Questions? I think I'm hearing you say that maybe there's a little bit of encouragement that you're seeing with collections and with the austerity that we have gone through this year, that on balance, that is keeping us on solid footing, lean, but solid and correct. Would that be a fair statement?
The numbers are rebounding slowly. I tend to be a pessimist when it comes to sales tax numbers, so I'm hoping that it's a positive sign. I'll be anxious to see kind of what happens in July, the first month of the summer. And then, of course, August, you never know because of the sales tax free day, what the impact of that will be on our numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping it is a positive turn. We do see another drop in our sales tax come October 1st, though we do lose the last part of the Article 44. But we have accounted for that in our budget for the upcoming year. So,
any other questions? I would like to say to you again, congratulations on the honor you and your department received last month. I was hoping that, maybe I missed it, but I was hoping it would be in the newspaper, because I think that's a distinguishment that you really deserve, and it gives us great confidence to know that it's a straight arrow type operation. And the people of Lee County appreciate it, I'm sure, so thanks again.
thank you very much.
I think it was in the paper.
Was it? I blinked and missed it.
I did too.
I think we sent them a press release, and I think it did make it in there.
All right. Thank you very much. Commissioners' comments at this time. Mr. Pascal? No comment. Mrs. Dalrymple?
I just want to commend one of our fellow board members, Mr. Pascal, and the rest of the Lions Club on a super fair. I know we spent 2 nights at the county fair, and if you missed it, you need to put it on your calendar for next year because it was first rate. And my family and I enjoyed it immensely. We were out there tonight taking down our fair booth before we came here, so good job.
Mr. Allen?
Well, I just want to say how sorry to hear about Margaret Palmer, Chatham County. She was a friend of mine. She was a former county commissioner. I had worked with her in the past on some things. I'm sorry to hear about her passing.
Mr. Kelly?
I was gonna say also, great job on the fair, because it was, my kids wore it out too. Wore me out with it.
Yes.
Mr. Reeves?
No comment at this time.
Okay. Then we have a motion, I believe.
Oh, yes. I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session to consider a personnel matter per North Carolina General Statute 143-318, 11A6, please.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're now in closed session. Thank you very much.